figuring out what you're really after. Thinking also of like if you like life and it's worked out for you and you've had the
Okay.
best of it, you millions and millions of dollars, enough to never have to worry or whatever. So do you what? It's like I love this, so I'm gonna extend it as long as I possibly can, maybe forever. Testing, testing, one, two, three. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, what's up, my friend?
Doing good, doing good. It's a wild ride out here, man.
Wild ride. Where are you
So it
at?
was so Dallas.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's where it was. Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas. Dallas is it's been like the weather is bipolar weather is what I've heard. And the swings are wild. I've never had anything like it. But in the wintertime it would drop like 30 to 40 degrees in like a few minutes.
A few minutes.
In a few minutes, I'm not even kidding you, no, it just like drop.
That's
And
crazy.
then last night I was out with friends for a little birthday thing. And
Yours or?
but my birthday's not till June.
Oh, okay, okay. I was
It's
like,
birthday. It starts. I call it birthday month. So it's like if your birthday falls in a month, then it's the birthday month. So we gotta wait till June for me to celebrate my birthday month.
we're definitely doing a podcast then too.
There was thunder and lightning last night, but it
Mhm.
was hot all day. So it was like 90 degrees, and then there was lightning. I was like, wow. I mean, this place. The weather is weird. So I'm gonna be roasting through the summer.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, growing up by like Chicago and stuff, there it was wild in a different way where it wouldn't go quick like within the span of the day usually, but there'd be plenty of
Mhm.
times where it's like April and you have like a real nice day, and the next day it's snowing, and you're like, what the fuck? Because like Michigan.
Yeah, I don't know why. I realized though when I was a kid, we lived in Phoenix, Arizona for a year. I think it was about a year. Yeah, probably exactly a year. And that place, the summer. But I realized like where I'm at is not far in terms of like, where we are on the equatorial.
Like death
You know,
heat, yeah. Those latitudes.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
cook an egg on the sidewalk. People keep warning me. They're like, you Californians, wait till summertime, you'll be fleeing out of here. But I've been putting it in. I'm sticking around. I'm gonna wing it a little longer.
Hell yeah, that's the way to do it.
So I moved into a new apartment and I'm kind of slowly building it up. I got a couch delivered on Friday. Got some bar stools. Still don't have like a bed though.
That's last to come for a
That's
man.
the last.
Yeah. For a
You
man.
get couch first, right?
There's so many memes about like men furnishing like when they're moving into an apartment, it's like all you need is like a mat or a couch and like a TV and like a computer and you're set for like months. It takes
I'm
so
weird about that stuff though. Like I don't have a TV yet. I mean, I know that that's like number one on the staples of things you're supposed to get, but I'm going through like a thing where okay, so check it out. I haven't got internet yet, and it's just a phone call away. I can just
that's
have
the
internet.
number one. Yeah, that's
That's right.
people have it. That's
Not wise. I mean, so I don't work from home ever. I always go to the office, and I like it that way. And I want to. I'm testing it out for everybody else to see if my quality of life goes up from just no. The internet doesn't go into my house, but for things like this, I had to go out to this gaming cafe.
yeah, I was gonna ask where you were. I love
Yeah,
having a mic too. I need to set my mics up. I have like those boxes like way up in the corner. There's two mics that I like never use. I
Is
got them.
this the central? Is this your central station? This is like your command center.
Yeah, it's just my like office here. Like
Neat, dude. It looks like
full out of Spain now.
oh man, just travel the world. I
It's
don't know.
getting hot as well.
You're not doing it. You're probably going to be traveling again soon. I bet.
No, no,
Anymore.
this is base. Yeah, now it's base here. I mean, I'm sure I'll be traveling around like random travels, but in terms of like moving, like where my main base is,
Yeah,
probably at least not for a year.
it's wherever the Fed send you, man. It's like
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can't argue. They send you. You go. Last night I met a guy from Homeland Security, just kind of like tooling around. I guess he showed up at our little party thing. We were chatting with them. There was a mass casualty event not too far, like 10 minutes
Last
away.
night.
That the Allen
That's
outlets, that
crazy.
was, and a gal showed up, and she came right up to me, and she was like, looked shaken. But she was like really, really flirting hard with me. And she was like, whispered in my ear, like, I'm not going to say her last name, but she said this quip. I was like, it's going to go down. Like, this is going to go down tonight. But then she was like, my car got hit by a bullet. I was just over at that thing. And I was like,
Oh, that's crazy.
that's off limits, man. I'm like, nah, trauma stuff. I ain't gonna.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's the situation just reminding me of the whole like last night on Earth thing.
It is.
Like that, like
I saw it.
like where that's like the move. It's like we're gonna die tomorrow. Like the Earth
It
ends.
is. I think it's a legit thing, but I was affected. I mean, I was like, wow, this is an interesting proposition. But my better self, realized, nah, you don't take advantage of a situation like this.
Yeah, no, that's definitely better.
But that's another thing, it's wild. I like to have an optimistic outlook on things. That's kind of like, I don't want to, on the one hand, like when I talk to people from around here, especially people that might have been near it, is to not talk about it. On the one hand, it's there. Let's not like, but also to have a positive outlook, if that's even possible. So I just chat.
Yeah, I definitely agree that nothing is solved without talking about it. So stuff should never be buried under the rug.
I got some thoughts on it. I mean, like my sons and I, we went out into the woods and shot projectiles and stuff like that, and like in the woods, not to even kill animals. I'm talking about like literally just to hit a target.
Or guns, yeah.
I've done rockets too. Rockets are amazing.
I actually haven't done rockets. I've always wanted to do rockets. I've never done it.
Buddy, it is the coolest thing. I took my nephews out to the park. I got in trouble because my sister's married to a high-ranking law enforcement individual, and he's super chill. He's like he would do breathalyzers on everybody, like after family gatherings, and like like this kind of stuff. But he's super super chill. Yeah. But I took a rocket out. I got the rocket. I set it up for my nephews. And they were young, like 5 and 6 when they did this. Went around the corner, went to the back of the park, plugged it in, and my sister was there, my mom, my other sister, and my 2 nephews, and I had the younger of the 2 to hold the switch. It's the way it works with the rocket launchers. You have it all set up, and you hold that thing down, and when you let go, you step away, and then it goes. So they were all just like hanging out, maybe like 10 feet away, and then he let go, and he went, whoosh, it just went above the clouds. And I realized later, and they were all like, like I thought the thing was just gonna like I don't know, like a Maytel toy or something. No, I'm like, this thing is this is a rocket. Yeah. I can actually is a rocket.
SpaceX brand.
I mean, I bought it at Target too, so I got in trouble. I mean, he was like, technically, that's illegal to do. And you have to go to the special. I'm like, why did I sell that at Target? And he goes,
yeah, isn't technically, I know like in Indiana, at least, like fireworks was like technically illegal half the time, or like in like every location, like you can't do it. And you're like, you can only go to like special areas. I don't know. No one followed any of the firework rules.
We're talking about guns and stuff like that. It's like, can't I do science, right? Isn't that, what was that, October Sky? Like,
I was just thinking of October Sky this whole time. I almost asked you. Yeah, I love that.
That's just like my nephews, man. They're probably going to be astronauts. I mean, they fly an airplane. He's got an airplane, you know what I mean? Like, and he carries a gun. So it's like, where do we go with this? What's cool and what's not cool?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like, you can't, I don't think that we're headed for a world where it's like, and this hopefully, this is an interesting conversation for you, because I'm not on any particular side of the argument. No. Where I would like to talk is science.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say where the world is heading is a good prompt for what I was thinking we could do for this call is this like episode, because I had a chance to look at the awesome graphic you sent me, like the Ray Kurzweil like timeline.
He ain't perfect, but I mean, it's kind of
So yeah, no, these are super interesting. I was like, we should go through this because yeah, it's like by decade. I'm gonna put these on the video,
Let's see
but
this.
it's like, yeah, you should pull it up on your end too. But it's like 2019. It'll show. Then it has like a handful of things he predicted. Then 2029, a few more, 2030s, 2040s, then 2045, 49, and then like 2099. So like next 100 years or so.
I
But
mean, nobody's going to ever be exact,
no one's
right?
gonna be
Like
exact, but these are hella interesting. These are
it's very very compelling. Like where he goes with it. I only want to make one note is that like if did you ever read Bill Gates? I mean, I don't know. He's I don't know about him as a person, but like he wrote a book and I read it because I was working on Microsoft stuff at the time, and I just read it and then it just started to get weird. So he had like we will have well, he made some calls, like he made some predictions, and he had said um, by the turn of the century, it's like written in the I think late '80s or early '90s or something, and it's like by such and such a time, you will have a checkbook, a digital checkbook, where you will write the check digitally and sign it with the digital pen, and that will be your check. I'm like, yeah, if you think that, like, I don't know, I would say it's more likely. I don't think he went far enough with the vision. It's like
oh
he
yeah, that
gets it.
was
It's
like
all good.
surpassed. Yeah.
I'm talking about blinking your eyes, or even Amazon stores. It's like blinking, or even well, Kurzweil. Let's get back to Kurzweil. Kurzweil, when he gave a presentation at Google, he was saying he was talking about integration up inside
Oh yeah,
your
yeah. A
eye.
lot of these are about that. Yeah.
There ain't no you don't talk to people. You don't talk. You
Yeah,
just
you don't
think
need to
it.
talk. Yeah, I love the videos of like Elon talking about that, or like when he first started really openly talking about that. And what's the company he founded with that?
Elon.
Yeah, what's the company? Why am I spacing on the name?
Well, so I know he's a big investor in
Super
OpenAI. You know, as much as he speaks against ChatGPT, he's also
recently. No, yeah, yeah. We can talk about that too. What's the company though that he
Neuralink.
Neuralink? Yeah, that's what I'm
I think
spacing.
it's Neuralink. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just spacing on the name. But yeah, continue with his open AI things because I don't know.
Well, no. That's. I think I want to hear about your perspectives on Elon and his Neuralink stuff because that's definitely the chip.
Yeah, that's just something I know he's heavily not even invested in, but like building because that I remember it was like 10 years ago now where I read like his autobiography or something, and it was the beginning of when he started like Neuralink. It was like a little bit at the end of the book about that. I think like next year they're starting their first like human trials on people. This might not even be real, but like I think
Probably is.
I think I recently read, like, I think within this last year, I read an article about how, like, the upcoming year, they're starting human, like, for obviously not for just like anybody, but like, let's say someone that has like epilepsy or something. Like, they're starting to try it on people. Yeah. For like those edge cases of people that can help. I thought I read that somewhere, but they've made like good progress. And
That would. I mean, like ethics is the real thing. Like for a minute there, before the it became sort of like mainstream discussions, you know, when it was still edge out there in the scientific world. But like there was a lot of conferences on AI ethics and ethics of this stuff. It's kind of evaporated. Like
Mhm.
it's almost like here's what's weird. It's like when it went mainstream, everyone kind of accepted it that this is the future. And now we don't have to have an ethics conversation about stuff like that. Stem cells, the same thing. I mean, it's out of my wheelhouse, stem cell research, but like that, I don't understand totally fully what would be the delay for decades. The delays in like stem cell research, like you're
I agree.
playing what?
I think it was for a long time, people only thought it came from like fetuses because you can have stem cells out of like adipose tissue, out of
You
like,
could take them out of your kneecaps.
yeah, there's different kinds of stem cells. You can get them from a lot of different tissues. And even I think the fetal ones are only from like certain cases. Like it's not like they're like aiming to kill babies to get more of these.
No,
Not that we
flat
know.
Earth,
Yeah, yeah,
stuff. I
we
mean,
don't
you
know. Yeah,
probably
you're
know by
right.
now the Earth's round, because all that
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it's a good question, and it comes up, and it's funny because we could blend all these things to talk about, um, you know, guns in general, not
Mhm.
like whether people should have them or not, but more like, um, what it do we still need to have ethical boundaries, in all of this stuff with like the future. The future is not, if it's has no ethics, then we're not human. Like that's the difference. That's what Satya Nadella actually said in his book, which I didn't read all of. Okay,
Mhm.
but he said, hey, listen, in the future, the thing that's going to separate the robots from us is empathy,
Mhm.
ethics, and empathy. So it's like a computer. It doesn't make sense to tell a computer what's right and wrong. That doesn't make any sense at all. In
Mhm.
fact, you lose out on all of its capabilities if you try to program it what's right and wrong. That doesn't even make any sense because we don't learn anything from it if you tell a computer what's right and wrong. You could say what to do and what not to do, though.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, because those would be the last, like thinking to the point of singularity of like consciousness of computer. Those are the last things it gets. Like it'll get creativity in those things. It's already starting to get creativity, basically. Like the last things that would come would be like empathy, and then even those, I have no idea how that would come,
It's
but
a it's a
but
quagmire.
I
It's,
do
it's
believe that at some point it comes. Like if the thing has everything but that, and then it keeps just getting more neurons and neurons and neurons, I think eventually it'll like feeling comes or like sense of it's just like sense of action to your
yeah.
surroundings.
I
Um,
mean, I'm personally, I am just on the edge of my seat waiting to see when that actually comes, because here's what I always feel like there's this point in when we talk about the world and science. There's this point that we come to where it's you can't go past that door. It's like the end of the conversation. It's like the end of the internet. It's like
yeah,
you
like
reach the end of the
the
internet.
fork has been taken. There's
Or
no.
in Stanley Kubrick's what Space Odyssey 2001 or whatever, like he gets to the end and it's like a baby or something. It's
I
such a
haven't seen
weird.
that yet. I haven't seen that
Sorry,
yet.
I just blew it.
That's on my
But
list.
it's like,
I've been rewatching a lot of old movies. This is like the only good movies, like in my opinion. Like the more I watch older movies, the more I believe that new movies suck for the most part. There's some that are like really entertaining or fun, but
that was huge
and like the best
anticlimactic
80s, 90s, even some 70s movies. Like I'm
disappointing.
watching a bunch of just Al Pacino movies the
Oh,
last like
that's
year.
always going to work
I didn't
out.
even think I didn't it's super funny because I thought Al Pacino until last year. I thought Al Pacino was a character. Like I didn't know that was the actor's name. I thought
Oh,
there
you thought
was I like
he's
because like
in The
Scarface.
Godfather?
Yeah, like
Yeah, or Scarface.
Scarface, which
Is
is
Al
Tony
Pacino
Montana.
pale?
The character in the movie Scarface is called Tony Montana, but that was Al Pacino. Like the character's name
Oh,
was Al Pacino. Anyway, so I didn't know anything a year ago, and then I watched maybe I think Scarface was the first of his that I watched, and then I was like, oh shit, this guy's my favorite actor of all time. And so I've just been like slowly watching Al Pacino movies amongst other classics, like just old ones, but I've been like, those are the ones I like treat myself with. I'm like, all right, tonight's an Al Pacino night. I just recently
oh, he's a
watched
villain.
Godfather 1 and I'm saving Godfather 2 for like a
That's
special.
the first you've seen it.
Oh, I just watched Godfather 1 on March 25th, which is my
That's the first time you saw it.
like, yeah, that's the first time I saw it. I love it.
Scout's Honor. Really?
God's Honor. Yeah, never seen a bit of it. Yeah.
How
And
many quotes like are all making sense now? It's like, I didn't know who you were with, or like, um, there's so many things like
there's so many.
quotes in the vernacular or whatever. I don't know, like typical vulgar English like quotes that
Oh
come
yeah,
from
no,
that.
Al Pacino has so many quotes. Yeah, and that
He's
movie,
incredible. He's
he is
incredible because
legitimately
he's
like the best actor I've ever seen. There's like a bunch of really top tier actors, but man, he's
so
my
it's
favorite.
not crazy. It's not crazy that he could play himself. So your whole thing with like,
He could play
that
himself.
is actually that's a thing. He could
Yeah,
play himself in a movie.
he
Al
could do.
Pacino is Al Pacino. That's how
Yeah,
big he is.
he could
Well,
do like
wow, Godfather.
one. He could do one more. Like, there's plenty of characters that cameo themselves. He could be like Al Pacino as Al Pacino as Al Pacino.
that's a double triple entendre right
Yeah, I
there.
think he could do that. Yeah, I think he's that level. I forgot what
He
we
is
were.
actually that good. Well, we were talking about like gosh, The Godfather, and why did we talk about The Godfather? I mean, ethics,
Classics.
and yeah, I mean, I want to make a comment about The Godfather. You know, I said Space Odyssey, like, and
That's
sort of
yeah.
like
And we got to classic movies. All right, go ahead.
he gets to like that door, you know, like in
It's
the movie,
Dallas,
and
by the way. Yeah, it's 9 p.m. over here.
oh, it is. Gosh, where are you now? Are you in Spain still?
Mhm.
So you're a spy.
I'm a spy.
I knew it. I knew it all along.
Yeah,
Um, cool. Well, man, I'm jealous. So you're gonna stick around in
I'm
Spain
busy.
for a while?
Yeah, yeah. I really like it. I was here uh, to help out with family, closer with family, and then now it's I like it here a lot. Yeah, being back in
Never
Europe,
go back.
I
And I
can't.
hope the states didn't scare you off.
No, no, no. I mean, I was there. I grew up all in the States.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the end of the internet or the door or you know, I guess I don't want to call it Pandora's box because I don't think that we are gonna uh come. It's not gonna be like the end of the Space Odyssey movie. And I was just gonna say it was a letdown for me because great movie, like interesting stuff, like an acid trip, pretty much. Or
Mhm.
you know, taking mushrooms or something. Like the guy must have been when he was writing the movie. But yeah, at the end, I don't think it's like oh some like enigmatic or like this paradox where or something. I think when it comes to like ethics conversations, I think it is going to be more like spirituality versus religion. You know, like
Mhm.
I've been thinking a lot about social interaction with people. So our forward mammalian brains, again, this is out of my wheelhouse. I just know a little bit, but our brains grew forward in order to tackle the sort of society's sort of evolution of society, as well as our own genetic, you know, survival and stuff. So, like, apparently, our forward mammalian brains are designed to, with increasing efficiency and capability, interact with others. And
Mhm.
that's, I guess, what all that extra matter is at the front of our heads. Um, which is interesting because that almost suggests if you look at sort of like our species, and any species that is doing this, that our species in particular is uh, becoming more and more adept at uh, interaction. You know, and so what I wonder though is like you have two options. We evolve and as a species, or we continue to um, genetically grow, however your perspective is on it. And with each successive generation, our heads get bigger, you know. And and there's two outcomes. This is kind of like a theory, right? One outcome is we become godlike, more and more godlike, where we thirst for. I hope this isn't offensive, but we thirst for blood, essentially, or we become more and more adept at interaction and more empathy. I wonder though, and this comes back to the original point, is like in the ethics conversation about the capabilities, which is that was it. That was it. Putting the chips in there. There's this idea that, and it was with stem cell too, that playing God is no good, hands off, you don't mess with it. It could just as easily be don't play with evolution. You
Yeah.
know, we don't have, we only have so much recorded history to look at where we could even say, like, did we try this before? You know, did we try to modify? Have we ever tried to hijack or inter, intercept natural process? I don't know. I don't have any like silicon in my head. It all seems like gushy mushy stuff.
Yeah, not human wise. I mean, we've been like controlling things like agriculture or like animal evolution, but like our
True.
own, not really. I don't, I mean, like, yeah, it's really, it's like a debate in itself if like evolution, human species wise, has definitely, I mean, it's already such a long time scale, like of how slowly things happen. But like it's definitely got to have slowed down for humans because the whole it's a super like simple mechanism with interesting results. Like it only works if the people less the people, or like the parts of the species less capable of surviving, like die off, and the ones better continue on, and then that's just naturally picking features out. But like for humans, it's not really, like, for the most part, happening anymore. Like the people less capable aren't don't really, they have to die off before being able to breed, which is not a factor anymore. Like that doesn't happen for the most part. Like people are able to breed and then die. Like even people that die like at age 20, even if like there's no country where like the age of life is like less than 20 or something. But like,
Yeah, life extension,
but
for
there is
example.
still like, it's still happening a little bit, I guess, because like the the best at any given feature, where it's like whether it's smart people, fit people, whatever people, like they do tend to find each other. So there's still like some portion
Traction.
that's moving forward. I think it's just way slower, but that's like an interesting debate in itself. Not debate, but like topic in itself. Um,
It is like selected selection and mating selectivity and stuff like that. I mean, there is that's a lot of science.
yeah,
That's
but even that whole debate is pretty much freaking null, because
yeah.
like even if evolution did not slow down, which I think what I just said is like about how like evolution's pace, which is already super slow, is definitely now slowed down. But even if we didn't slow it down, technological, everything we've been talking about is like a millions of times faster. Like instead of things happening over 100,000 years, all this Kurzweil stuff, or the things happening in the last 50 years, is way beyond. Like the singularity would happen way before we would have any kind of noticeable evolve, like evolution to any point. Like I feel like there's no, obviously assuming not destruction, whether like a meteor or us killing ourselves. Uh,
Yeah.
I feel like there's no way singularity does not like by far come before any kind of noticeable, like, oh, like 10,000 years ago, like people had smaller heads by like a millimeter, like it'd be
Well,
by like a
they
millimeter.
did.
That would take like 10,000, like it would take so long for any kind of noticeable difference. Yeah, no,
Here's
now the
something to think
technology
about
is here.
though.
It's like moot.
So let's talk about it like this then, because this is when we're talking about Kurzweil. Um, it's kind of, I don't know that he's actually said this, specifically said something like this, but kind of put it into two groups, because it's like you could think of putting chips in our heads and all that stuff as a natural thing, just like over 10,000 years. It's like we kind of like each successive generation, there's improvement. Well, there's technically supposed to be increased survival chances, as well as, exponential increase in capabilities and immunity. And remember, all the people alive on Earth today are winners. I mean, we all won genetically. We made it. Even if you're having a bad day, you
Yeah,
made it this far. Your genetics. So like it worked.
yeah,
And
living
the
in
people
this.
that aren't alive, if you can even think of that, it's like they never came into existence. They didn't win, right? So we all winners. But think of like even the acceleration of evolution, as you're mentioning. So it's like it takes 10,000 years for a slight modification, like whether your eye tilts up or down or sideways or anything.
Yeah, any noticeable feature, like yeah,
Well, all of these things you think about, like eyelashes. There's an explanation. There's a scientific explanation. Oh, it's like this keeps flies out of your eye. This keeps bugs from like getting in there, because I knew a guy who lost both eyes because he got an infection from a bug being in one and it spread over the other one. Blind.
it's crazy. He's lucky he didn't die. You can say like there's a like I do
I mean,
jujitsu.
yeah,
There's like just having an infection in your eye is so close to like getting to your brain. Like there's people in like jujitsu that have gotten like a staph infection in their eye, and then like, they die like because staph just spreads so quick. But yeah, still that's crazy. Yeah, eyelashes are nice.
can we talk a little bit more about ethics let's try to keep it scientific, because like it,
In like in a technology capacity.
yeah, so let's say, like, from my side, from my viewpoint, I think that um probably the chips are not natural. I mean, the you sort of what's the word? Bootstrapping evolution or whatever. Like, I don't even know what you call it. Trying to augment ourselves, trying to enhance
Yeah, like fusing with non
it's
biological.
unnatural.
Yeah, that's an interesting discussion. Yeah, like I don't even know where I stand on it, because this is one thing before you said to like shift back to this, one thing I was going to ask or just bring up the topic of like, there's different views of natural. Like, does natural mean biological, or like there's like the physics version of natural where like if it can literally happen by the laws of physics, then
Hmm.
it's natural because it literally can happen. So how is it
Or it's
unnatural?
probable. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like, so there's that view. I don't even know which view I hold. Like, I'm a, I love tech. I'm a super, like, at the same time, like, futuristic stuff super interests me. But, like, most of my time and, like, most of my heart and soul is, like, super old world. Like, I want to be on a mountaintop by myself, no internet, no anything in the quiet with nature, like 80%, at least
Me
70%
too.
of the time. You know, so,
Me
like,
too.
all of my heart and soul does not want that, like does not view that as natural, or like does not, or just doesn't want it. Like I hate, and I'm someone that I want a bunch of kids. I've always wanted a huge family. I've always wanted to be a dad since I was like 6. I love thinking about that in the like when I say abstract now, I mean I don't like thinking about like the world that my grandkids will like live in terms of this, all this technology. I don't even think like thinking about, my sister's 8 years younger. I don't even like thinking about the world she's grown up in, where like
Hmm.
the amount of time I played with other like kids and was outside compared to hers. Not all because of technology, but just like even that little 8 year gap, I hate thinking about. And so thinking about like what my kids' lives will be like, their kids' lives, I just don't think about it because it hurts my soul. But that's just more
I hope
back.
that doesn't discourage you.
But again, back to just like the
You should
like
be a dad.
I'm excited, but
Go for it.
back to just like the conceptual discussion of like, yeah, what really natural means, or like
Or why shouldn't we?
I don't know where I stand. Yeah, I try to disconnect that of like what I like, because like people that grew up with that, let's say like my sister wouldn't think it's as bad as I do, or not bad, but like they would probably have less of that feeling I just described. So it's like,
Mhm.
who's right, who's wrong, what's like objective, is there objective? Um,
I mean, maybe there isn't, and I don't know that there has to be one. I was thinking about like figuring out what you're really after. Thinking also of like if you like life and it's worked out for you and you've had
love
the
that.
best of it, you've millions and millions of dollars, enough to never have to worry or whatever. So do you what? It's like I love this, so I'm gonna extend it as long as I possibly can, maybe forever. Maybe I can, put parts in me. Is there anything in that, for example? Again, I don't like to think of it as right or wrong. I think of it like you said, is it possible or probable? And that's just about the only rules of physics that, I mean, quantum physics at least. It's like
Yeah.
if it can be, it probably probability of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would. I'm someone that like I've always, this is maybe a slight different like angle or like direction to your question, but it's just what it's making me think of. For me, I'm someone I've always wanted to live forever, or like maybe not forever, but like a long ass time.
I'll see on that.
I'm so interested in so many things. Like I want to learn. Like if I had it my way, I would like. I want to learn how to do. I want to learn about every single subject. I want to learn every single skill. I want to learn how to like. I want to see every single inch of everything. I could happily live for like 1,000 years. And like even saying that is like, I know it's like, yeah, you'll watch your like family die, you'll watch these things die. And it's like it's a hard thing to, I know it'll be different. That's something that I guarantee will change for me when you do have kids, or like when you do see those things. But I know the curious side of me, and I don't think it would top it. Like obviously those things would destroy me, but I don't think like it would take a long time for me not to want to live. So, and the way this relates to your question is, I again way prefer human natural things. Like I love, again, I'm a health nut too. Like I want my body optimal at all times. Like I put a lot of work
Good.
into it. Not even work in terms of like that I feel like I need to or something. I just enjoy being in my body. So I know it'd feel really weird for me to like, let's say like get a robotic leg or something if that becomes available. Like if I'm like 80, but then it's like, oh, you can like upgrade your legs, like I would feel weird about it, but I would do it. Again, yeah, the mind is the most important. If your mind's not healthy and going strong, then it's no matter. But that's like my stance on that. I would take that door because personally, I want to live as long like I've always just loved I'm lucky about this too, because I'm lucky that I didn't really have any like bad things happen to me. Like I'm lucky my family's been cool. But
Mm.
like I've always loved life. So like I want to keep that going. Um
And it's like that desire is a totally healthy thing. I
I'm
think.
curious. Like I want to
Yeah,
see it all.
I think you're gonna. I always said, like, my philosophical side has always said that we made the cut. I mean, you're younger than me by quite a bit, but like we made the cut in the sense that like before our sort of projected lifespan, um, we could have an intervention in which, or we could have multiple interventions in which that lifespan becomes conceivably twice theoretically, right? Twice as much,
Yeah.
twice as long. Here's what I think on that though: aging, right?
Yeah.
Would you say you could get it extended? You know, you start. Have you ever seen like a thing where it's like you got a brand new car, brand new, beautiful, classic car, cherry, just gorgeous, and everything is new except for the tires,
Yeah.
you know, or like, or like it's like everything's great, everything looks shiny, and everything something's out of place. Or if you say, you know, have you ever eaten a burger that like was three quarters a burger and part of it was chocolate cake, you know, a quarter of it was chocolate cake. I mean, this is probably a terrible
Yeah,
analogy,
where are you
but
going with this? I'm
I'm
interested.
wondering if like, so let's say we find a way to, I by the way, I have another alternative to life extension that isn't this, but you're basically just, you know, upgrading parts and stuff, synthetic parts. You know, you don't even need to take it from living beings. You can print it. I mean,
Yeah, printed.
they're doing that. They're getting pretty good at like replacement parts.
Oh yeah, certain things it's really yeah, I don't continue with yours. I don't
Hmm.
want to.
Well, I mean, something I've conceptualized, the way I like view the universe is kind of, I don't think we've talked about this much, but I look at it like it doesn't baffle me too much, the way that electron magnetism works, and it's not like super enigmatic to me. It makes sense, just that particles, like, even in a quantum sense, like years ago, I spent like 8 months researching. I was probably smoking tons of weed, you know, utilizing its mind expanding uh, abilities. But I took the time. I was lucky to be able to do that. But studying astrology, Wheels of Light book by Rosalind Berger is incredible. But like energy, and we live in an electric, universe. So um, it just all made sense to me. So I was thinking about like, oh, we're just a big old vibration, and when you think about it like that, it doesn't seem inconceivable that instead of like replacement parts, we just, bear with me here, but we basically vibrate ourselves back to whatever the template is. You know what I mean? Like, that's conceived. That to me is not weird. Okay, and when I say that to people,
On
they're
a
like,
biological level, like we learn to unlock like healing, or am I misunderstanding what you the last couple
check
sentences?
it out. So like,
I think that's possible. I haven't thought about that, but I've always thought of like the robotic kind of replacing parts. But just what you just said, just reminded me of like just like the way like a lizard regrows its tail. Why don't people think about the robotic end a lot, but I feel like people don't think about that end as much nowadays. Of like we can unlock that too, of healing back.
okay, so I got some people on Quora. I got, like, this is probably my biggest read posting on Quora. It was like, so it's not just theoretically, but it's practically possible, except we just don't have the equipment for it, to teleport things. It is.
I'm so
Okay.
excited. I don't know why, but this is like 24 hours ago. Within the last 30 hours, I don't know what made me think of it, but the first time me and you talked to each other, Vince was like, "This is like my seventh day at
My
like
man,
yeah, like,
Vince,
which Vince actually just left too somewhere, but
he was there.
no, like this my seventh day or something. Vince was
Yeah.
like, hey." you should get to know Cal. Like let him know if you have questions, or just get to know him. Like you were new as well. Like we started like the same time.
Yeah.
But I remember either he said, I forget if it was him saying it about you or if you just said it when we started talking, like, ask me any crazy thing. I bet I'll know the answer. Or he said that like about you. And then I said something about, and I can't remember if I said something about teleportation or you did, but then you gave me like a really long, like descriptive, like, this is how I would do it. Like I projected onto this thing, what you're about to go into, which please do.
Yeah.
I remember us like texting about that. I was like, this guy's awesome. And like
Well,
I
sure.
tried to get an in-depth response of I was like, I think this part would work for sure. Like, but we hit it off right then. I remember that text sequence. And so it just made me happy, whatever this was, like 24 hours ago. I was like, man, that was like the first cool conversation me and Cal had.
Real scientists,
Right
though,
off the
like not
bat.
me.
Right off the bat. Me and you were like, yeah, but keep going into it.
Probably more like an uneducated version of a Kurzweil wannabe. But
It's good. Everyone should be that.
real scientists were
Autodidact.
very much interested. This was
Mhm.
this was this was like, and so it was like, okay, so you're not crazy. Number one, like with the guy that wrote the book on
Outline
quantum.
this idea. Outline this
Sure.
idea of this process so people get it. Because I want to remember it
Okay.
too.
So
It's cool that I didn't know
check
you
it out.
posted on Cord and got like a following from scientists. I didn't know any of that.
So number one is it requires a very high powered uh, sensor, okay, to do an EHF, electromagnetic high frequency, very extremely high frequency scan, essentially, of a thing. Now, right, so it's like you get an MRI machine is not as high intensity I'm talking about, but they exist. At Livermore National Laboratories is one place that has one of these things. So yeah, you can see through walls. I mean, you can see through material, okay? And that's not crazy. They have them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. The second thing is when it comes to teleporting genetic material with DNA in it, you already have a huge problem. Okay. And this was discussed at length, and it was way out of my capabilities to understand
Within
exactly what
this
they're.
thread
This
or
is in the thread of
positive?
teleportation thread.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it started with like, does the United States or any countries have a disaster recovery plan that includes teleporting us to Mars?
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of how it all started. I'm sure that Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want to talk about this?
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to tangent that. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. And how that started, incidentally, was because I had a theory. Again, this is what happens when you smoke weed. I don't smoke it anymore. Can't do it. No, there's a lot of reasons, but it's okay if other people do. But I was convinced that the president of the United States, not totally convinced, but that they had made a huge discovery, and it had something to do with colliding the protons in the hadron collider, which was they did find the God particle, right? The Higgs boson, right? I mean, it was a theoretical thing. They're like, sure, yeah.
That was like
math had to.
Yeah, you keep talking. I'm gonna look at when they found that.
Well, check it out, because like it was like, oh, it's like fizzle, no big deal. It's like, oh, here's the Higgs boson, the theoretical particle. Now what do we do?
Yeah, 2012.
2012. See, so it's been a decade. It's like we haven't found nothing in a decade. Yeah. But check it out. So I had, in a philosophical sense, or sort of, I had a suspicion. Let's say I don't think I was convinced, but that the president of the United States or another superpower, head of a superpower, or even maybe in an administration, had stumbled into being able to enter other dimensions, possibly able to see into the future a little bit. That's how it started. Okay, and then so to me, again, like how I look at the fabric of the universe, whether you think of it as a hologram type of thing, which is kind of like what it is, really. It's like, or whatever. It's not crazy to think that sure we could take a piece of space. Just think of a three-dimensional piece of space and just configure it. Okay, so that would require you to scan it for what is the electromagnetic signature. But here's the issue. So you could take an object, and I would be totally surprised if they haven't been trying to do this. You take an object that it doesn't have DNA in it. Okay, it's not a biologic. I'll explain that in a second. You could take an object and scan it, and then reproduce it over here. Here's the issue, and this is where the science people were telling me some things. So you need to oscillate the particles in a three-dimensional way, which is beyond my total understanding.
Why do you need to?
Wait for it. See, I can't know for sure. So atoms, the proton and the construct of like molecules or atoms, if you want to call it that, they have a spin.
Yeah.
And that's critical if you want them to be the same on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the quantum. This is not studying like classical physics or even quantum physics. This is trying to replicate. No, this is trying to modify in a space-time dimension, like in a piece of space, trying to modify it so that it's the same as something else. If you do that, though, the laws of quantum physics suggest that it would then very much be the same thing, especially if you made sure that it was the same thing. It's like reverse quantum entanglement. Mm-hmm. But wait, you still got to get the thing over there. So when it came to teleporting people, because that's the only thing we really ever want to do is teleport people. Well, what's the good in like teleporting objects? It's going to be very expensive.
Yeah, you know? I mean, there'd be uses, but yeah, it would.
There's some uses, but you want to put people in just different places.
Yeah, unless you can do it through time, then it becomes interesting. But,
it's not only I would say that it's barely practical to teleport objects, and that I'm sure they're very interested in trying to do it. But why spend all this time and energy if you can't teleport humans? I mean, that's the whole joy of it, especially for the disaster recovery plan, where we just teleport everybody up to Mars. So this comes back to our original conversation of, instead of replacing body parts, why don't you just vibrate them?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same concept.
Yeah, it is the same concept, because you're like regenerating state. Because like the whole thing about that scanner that you need, it's like if you break it down to just like a physical process, where teleportation is you need something that can, to the necessary granularity level, like be able to read what is there. So like when you take a photo of something, like you're seeing a certain amount of like pixels, right? You need something that's to the resolution, like to the max resolution. It captures every little bit of information, right? Then you need to be able to store that like in the whatever like memory of whatever this machine is. Then you need to be able to project that somewhere else, and then like reassemble. Yeah, like it needs a big.
That's exactly right.
Projection, I guess, the last step. So all that, it's like the only, like, you just physically break down the process of what that is, because why wouldn't you be able to, in theory, like
you can
going really simple, like a piece of graph, like something that's just one element, like one sheet of something. If you can just scan it, it's exact, and then scan like project that somewhere else. It just becomes more complex with everything. From what you were saying, I have two. One of the questions is, why is the DNA one harder? Like, it's like biological compared to not biological organism. And then two, which is related, what happened? Like, I don't expect either.
You're gonna love this answer.
I don't expect either of us to know that. Like, well, obviously I don't know it, but like you to know this part. This would be like a really weird physics question. I don't even know if it's known. But like even something simple, like let's say like a sheet of one element, like carbon. What happens if you just? Because that's like the Heisenberg principle, right? You can't know the spin of something. Like the moment you know it, then it's like not it. Like of like an electron, like a particle. What happens if you, whatever the spins were, like I don't even know what they were. What if you just switch them all up? How much does it fuck up the thing? Like, does it? It doesn't come apart. Probably. It probably still stays in the essence.
That's the trippiest part of the whole thing.
Yeah. So I was like, that's the part that's trickiest to me of understanding. Like that's where I can understand like the more, not even from biological, not biological, but just in general, the more complex the thing you're trying to take in and project, the more that amount of spin that you change and fuck up, I feel like that would like exponentially make the process worse.
Here's what I think. I'm honestly,
Super interesting.
it's beyond us because we don't know yet. But first of all, quantum entanglement was a real head scratcher, and they confirmed that stuff. They tested it and they
What is
confirmed
quantum
it.
entanglement? That's a different thing.
Quantum entanglement is two particles, right?
Oh, that are just disconnect. Yeah, it could
They're far
away, but they have
disconnected.
an effect on each other.
You change one to a zero on the one, and it becomes a zero on the other
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Okay, yeah. I know. Yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. That's
Confirmed. Double slit
great.
experiment.
And it's always the same too. Like, go into how they confirmed it. Yeah, I'm curious. Like,
So they confirmed it by sending them at least I think 1,000 miles apart, where they could easily. I mean, it needs to be far because
they can track that
it
they're
needs,
one.
yeah, and so that they're 1,000 or so miles apart. They have to be further apart than, check this out. Classical physics is 136,000 miles per second. It's the speed of light. Everything in classical physics is based on c, right? So it's like
By based on C, you mean that it's not moving at the speed of light? Because I know things break down when you're moving at the speed of light.
it would have to be far enough for measurement instruments to confirm it was not the information wasn't sent over natural light speed means,
Oh,
but that
okay.
it was
I get what you mean.
was
Yeah, yeah. It needs to be further than that. Okay.
yeah. So I'm just confirming that like quantum mechanics or even those laws have been confirmed enough for us to feel pretty confident that at a certain point, if this teleported object, I know it's a big brain scramble, and I will answer the question to the best of my knowledge of the first thing because I think you're going to like this answer. But at a certain point, I think it would be at a certain level of probability, those spins would simply copy the other. And I don't know what that level of probability is, but I'm guessing that it is at a certain level of probability. We wouldn't even have to spin those things. If it was the sameness was at a high enough level, quantum mechanics take over. And so you just scratch your head and you just
like they just lock in. So you okay, so
they come online.
If
they're
enough
like,
of them didn't change spin.
The sameness of the object.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And if you include spin into sameness, yeah, like if enough of them
exactly.
were correct, the rest would just fall into place. Even if it took a sec, it wouldn't destroy like the essence of the object. So it'd still be like possible. Yeah, that's a cool.
I mean, yeah, it could be just like that, but we just don't know. I was going to answer
but that does make sense that it wouldn't like there's clearly one thing going off spin doesn't fuck up any kind of object. So that means there's like a non-zero number of, okay, what percentage of, if any percentage, maybe even if they all flip spin right now, it still wouldn't mess everything up. We don't know. But like, there's like, if that was the case, there's clearly some percent that it would need to get to fuck up the object. So maybe it wouldn't even be a problem.
Okay. One thing to look into so you understand it. And by the way, I have more time. It is 3.
Yeah, let me know if you have to go. Yeah.
If you will, so I'm worried about you if you get tired.
Oh, I'm good. I got at least another half hour. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So first thing is check out, if you are interested in the teleportation, one way to sort of on a human level, sort of to grok it, if you will, is to look at acoustic standing waves. Because if you've in certain of the demonstrations or the experiments that I've seen, acoustic standing waves is a good way to sort of visualize what would potentially be happening. When you send acoustic standing wave, or when you have particles of some, small light particles, small, not light, but like very small granules of sand, lightweight particles, hitting them with acoustic standing waves, the waves will configure their shapes in ways that is kind of like very interesting. It's not exactly the same, but it is on the same level when we're just talking about much higher powered acoustic what's called acoustic resonance, or you're resonating through waves. They attenuate. So the particles would be said to attenuate to the wave that is being sent to them. And this is also scientifically
No, that's a
plausible.
weirdly, I saw like something on social media about this even like a couple days ago, not um about a similar thing about like the resonance thing that like I forget if it was a special kind of sand. I think it was just regular sand. Like they put it like on like a metal like surface that can vibrate.
That's
And
it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And if you're playing like let's say you play like a C note or like D on like whatever, a piano or like they make a specific shape. Like they resonate to a specific shape on top of that surface, always the same shape for whatever that resonance is. And so yeah, that does make a lot of sense in the let's say you did teleport something, it clearly has some kind of resonance. Everything has a resonance. So as long as it wasn't fucked up enough, everything goes back to its intrinsic resonance.
But it's bad news for biologics.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
I didn't explain that. Okay. So DNA has a hydrogen bond in the strand.
Mhm.
There's a single hydrogen molecule between the two sides of the double helix. If you hit that with electromagnetic high frequency, it would undoubtedly break that hydrogen bond,
Mhm.
and your DNA would collapse.
Mhm.
So we can't do it.
But when
Sorry.
are you hitting it with?
It's what?
When are you? You said when you hit it with what?
If you hit it with electromagnetic high frequency wave or
At
millimeter
what
wave,
point in the process are you hitting it with that? Because aren't you just taking like a grab, like
you have to take the whole thing.
checking it? But
Well,
in this theoretical process of like theoretical
this
process.
is the play God aspect. It's like, what do you really want to do? Because if, and I'm not saying either way. Like, I'm surprised that stem cell research took so long to, I mean, I don't even know if it's been approved, and I don't understand what the big problem is with it.
Mhm.
There's other things where it's like, yeah, I don't really care. Putting a chip in your head, is that playing God? I don't know. And is it wrong to try to play God? Shouldn't we try to do everything that we can possibly do to extend our lives? Because what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. Is it selfish? Probably not. I mean, if you had all these capabilities and science and you knew how to do all this stuff, I mean, who wouldn't? What species or what alien civilization wouldn't? And why would it be wrong for them to try to extend their lives? But it's an interesting thing when you talk about DNA, though, because to get this teleportation to work with a living object, you would need to hit every single particle right down to the DNA. Okay. So, and you can't. So the only thing I can think of is if your stuff was so, and I suppose you could have, we're probably gonna have a supercomputer AIs that might be able to do this, that can just, it takes your DNA and then it applies that to the wave, which
Mhm.
is like, to just think about the dimensionality of something like that. We're talking quintillions to the most super small, getting down to the Higgs boson type of thing.
Oh
So,
yeah,
like,
yeah. The
what
scales.
are we gonna do?
One of the
I mean,
interesting things back to tying back to this Kurzweil timeline. One of the interesting ones that I've never heard of, even like in like I've read plenty of sci-fi books, got plenty to go. Because I've been working my way down some of those classics too. In yeah, in like the 2099, the last category, one of the things that's listed is artificial intelligences create super powerful planet-sized computers through the universe. And it
yeah.
looks cool, like
Is
planet-sized.
that the end of the internet version of Kurzweil?
Yeah, this is the
That's the
last node on the timeline.
okay. Yeah. So what is that? 2099?
This is one of the points it has listed, but and that's like one I haven't heard of. I've heard of they have a name. I'm forgetting the name of when you have like a power generator like the size of a planet, like let's say like around Earth, it's collecting like radiation, like sun radiation. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's a name for those that I've heard. Again, back to the guy that you need to meet. It's like my other he's another mentor of mine. His name's Greg. But like we had the same kind of conversations. You guys would like I want to get us three in a room.
It's probably going to happen. Like all this
Oh,
stuff's going to
100% is
happen.
going to happen. But he talks about those asteroid mining. We talk about all this stuff.
That should be happening already. Think about it. It's like, so Kurzweil is like, when you think about like planetary scale stuff, like at the levels of abstraction that he's forced to do, he's way better at predicting things than Bill Gates was. Okay.
Oh,
Just to
yeah.
bring things full circle, like a digital checkbook this is when he did this, they didn't even have Palm Pilots yet, So, I mean, but when you're talking about like 20 years, 30 years, 50 years into the future, for a person to be almost in a surreal way to be so close, it's interesting. I mean, he's not the only one. Like
No, but it is ridiculous.
I like the area of plausibility. I'm
Yeah.
a big time plausibility fan. And so if it's plausible to me, it's like, yeah, start developing it.
Here's a good topic then that I think not enough people bring up, including this dear friend of mine, Greg, because he's a super proponent of both, not proponent, but like a full on futurist believer of like they're going to figure out immortality relatively soon. Whether like the genetic approach of like so you don't age or can reverse age, but also like the other variant of that's the one we talked about most recently. But I actually need to send you that because we did that as like a podcast. Super interesting. But
I would love it.
the other side of like immortality that people talk about all the time, there's plenty of movies about it, is like uploading your consciousness and then living like in a machine. One thing, like to me, even the first time I heard about this idea that was like to me obvious that I don't get why people don't talk about is, let's say we can do that right now. You can upload your brain into a machine, or like you're copying your consciousness. You're not moving it. Like you're this me, this biological me still exists. So you're making a copy of you that could live forever. Like, so like the rest of the world will have a Blago, but this me that I'm never going to move out of this me is still going to experience death. I'm still going to die.
Yeah.
I'm going to so I don't get why people count that as immortality. You're not alive. The consciousness didn't move. You made another exact replica that thinks like you. So like now that one will develop and live forever. But this you is still going to die. Like the only kind of like true immortality is like, I don't think you can move consciousness out of the brain. I don't think you can like move it, like, oh, jump over to this new box that you're going to live in. That I like, because even like physics wise, I don't believe it's like, that's where it gets into spirituality. Because like, if it's like an emergent property of like a system, like our brains are complex enough, so like a soul or like a consciousness took root there. I don't think it can just jump to like a new, like even if you made something equally complex, I don't think this is my at least maybe belief, but like I don't think
this is good stuff.
But this is something I've always thought was interesting that like I don't think anybody brings up. That I definitely there should be movies on. There kind of is in Black Mirror. They kind of reference this. I don't know if you've seen all of Black Mirror or like some of those.
I think I watched most of. There's a lot of noise back. I hope this isn't messing up the.
Oh no, I don't hear anything. Yeah, I keep trying to. My dog keeps chewing like a bone. I keep trying to get it.
The Black Mirror stuff. Yeah, that stuff. That's fun.
So
they never go far enough for me. But go on.
I love them. I wish they would. They like ran out of like they haven't put stuff out in a while, but they have come as. I've never seen anybody come closer to talking about this idea or this concept that like, because they have a handful of episodes where there's like someone basically making a snapshot copy of your consciousness in your mind. And they'll make a copy. So now there's two of you. Like now they use it. Like there's this one episode where they'll take a snapshot of your consciousness and then they'll make it like run your house. Like they can like, you can like, it just like,
oh yes.
That's super fucked up. Because at first,
there's always some
you just think you're you, like, and I agree with that part of the concept. Like, if they snapshotted my mind, the new one, let's say in the computer, would think it's me because we are like the same arrangement of thought, right? It thinks it's me. So I don't disagree with that part, but my part's also still there. Like the original one is also still there. That one's gonna die. So like it always bothered me when people are like, "Oh, you can upload your consciousness." Like, yes, that means your perspective will live on, but like you will still experience death. You're not getting out. Like because again, me as someone who's always wanted to live forever, I'm like, that's not a solution. Like you still have to die. Like that's more of like an ego thing of like, oh, the world will still have me in the future, or can it?
Well, maybe you don't need to die. So okay. So I want to respond
I
to
think
that.
the immortality is possible, just not in that like route. Like for me to be immortal, I think it means like my brain needs to be like in a tank or
Yeah,
something, or reverse aging. Like I think that is possible as well. But the
I
upload
say nice
part,
try.
exactly, like the upload part, that's not immortality to me. I
Nah.
mean, that's immortality in terms of the essence of me. Like you can make as many of me as you want, but the original me in that case still has to die if that's all that's achieved. Like if you haven't
Mhm.
achieved like the reverse aging for the original, or like the brain needs to live on. Like
I agree with you on
I
that.
don't think it's gonna jump ship. I don't I think that part doesn't make any even physics sense to me.
It's not what we want. Like I would suggest that uh so in music, right? If you perform music or if you play, I just perform for myself because I like it and I like the
I've never
music. So
played. I love music. I have no ability. That's why I love talking to people that do, because it's
well,
one
you
area
yeah,
my brain has no function.
there is something called muscle memory that you have. So say you read the music, right? Anybody like if you're like a pro and you perform in, the public audiences and stuff like that, your music reading ability is going to be quite good. Okay, but even if you do, um, you're going to find that you will always memorize the music. That's the only way to play well. You're going to memorize the music. You're also going to read ahead. You know, you're going to always read ahead. But when you're reading ahead, you got to remember that, no pun intended, your muscle memory is doing the work if you're reading ahead. It's just like reading in a book. If you've ever read in front of people, most people have. I've done it a bunch. It's like you're reading in a group of people a thing, or doing an announcement, in front of a bunch of people. You're gonna read ahead. Um, that's natural. It's natural to read ahead, so you know what the rest of the sentence is, so you get the phonetics right or whatever. You know what I mean? The articulation. So the reading ahead, though, you got to remember, like moving your tongue, just like moving your fingers. That's muscle memory. Your tongue, and your voice box, and all this stuff is going to do stuff without you telling it to, as you're reading the next thing that's coming up. Okay, so muscle memory. Remember that. So in terms of, well, how does this apply to, because I'm on your side. It's like, no, like I don't want to replicate this. What would be the point in that? It's like live so my thinking process like a book.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
replication. It's not immortality. I
it's
just
like
never understood why
it's
it
just
was.
like me writing all my thoughts in a book and saying, please keep this book for 1,000 years. We can call it the Bible.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, so like I don't get any enjoyment out of that. And again, I feel like there's nothing wrong with desiring to stick around. Like there's
Yeah, I
nothing
think
wrong
it's
with that. I don't
useful.
think.
I just think it's a separate topic that people have always like put that in the box of immortality, when to me, no, that's replication. That's got other uses. Like sure,
Copying. Yeah.
some of these super unique beneficial minds like an Elon Musk or something, or a Da Vinci, like unique mind, like that'll be so cool if we can just keep that forever to
Yeah.
help humanity, right? Like that's replication, but it's not part of immortality. It does
There's
nothing.
documentation even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just super grand, super, like we said, like atom level, particle level documentation is all that is. It's
So
not.
hang on.
Yeah.
I have a little bit more to say on that. So about the muscle memory. Now think about, like, how is that even possible for your body to have memories? Now, science will explain it pretty simply. They'll say, "Hey, listen, your nerves and all that stuff and all those fancy things, they are a kind of extension of your brain, and your physical body is still shouldn't it doesn't have memory, it doesn't have neurons, right? Um, so how is that even possible for your body to do something without your brain, with your brain doing something else, right? And you could explain it by saying that, like, your brain can have multiple threads, but still don't explain how a finger can move on the keyboard, for example, without the brain even focusing on that or asking it to do that. It doesn't make no sense, is what I'm saying. One foot in front of the other when you're walking, like at a certain point, your brain is not really it might be allowing or acknowledging sort of what is that uh, meta consciousness, which is like consciousness about consciousness. Your brain is able to analyze its own consciousness outside of itself, which is something unique to our species, supposedly. Um, but let's just say that no, I'm not buying it. No, uploading my consciousness so that some other physical form can enjoy it. So there's the key for me, though. I think that for the uploading consciousness to the cloud to work, you need to upload me to another physical body exactly the same as mine, and then I think it would work. Then I think you, Blago, you would feel yourself. You wouldn't feel any difference, but you'd have to have exactly the
That
same
I
physical
think
body.
that new me would feel no difference, but then there'd be two.
No, 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 no,
I don't think it'd be like one soulless one and one new one. You know what I'm
no.
saying?
Well, so you got the physical gushy mushy, and then we have this other metaphysical holographic kind of thing up here, which is like poles, neurons, and we
Yeah, I guess
create
what I'm
this like
saying
hologram.
is unless the first one turned into an empty box, I don't see how my consciousness moved. I just see that as replication.
It would have to be so we could do it online, is what I'm saying, and that's where we're probably headed. But for me, I'm in your boat. Like I want a continuity.
Yeah, I want a continuity
Continuity. Did you watch Westworld?
of my perception. I've seen season one. I don't think I've seen season two.
I can't remember if in season one, it might be season two, where they go into this concept called fidelity. So the owner is trying to live forever.
Uh-huh.
And what they're researching is fidelity, which is he's looking for continuity. He keeps his new form. He's like in a prison, and they can't get the fidelity to work. Like he's like the structure, the neuro whatever thing that they've created, which is supposedly him, his consciousness is in it. They can't get it to keep going. It keeps breaking down and like dying. And they destroy it, and then they bring it back online to keep testing it.
Hmm.
But the fidelity part, I think we could. I think there's probably a future. I think we probably made the cut where it would take a lot, and it's probably going to accelerate, but we could transfer you to a copy and have continuity, the conscious continuity. You just don't want the lights to go out and then you lose the physical body.
I hope so. That's the one where I don't believe it, but I hope that's like to me, there's no moving that soul or conscious, whatever that thing is. You could, like in our teleportation example, you could if you could just snap your fingers and make an exact copy of every single particle I am, like 2 feet that way. Now it's there again. There's exactly two of us, but you didn't move. Like, unless this one turned into an empty shell, you wouldn't have moved it, right? Because then you're just replicating it. That one had its own, like, my
Quantum.
continuity, my continuity wouldn't pick up if you just made another one.
Yeah.
Like, I would keep going in this one, and then that would be there. Now there'd be a second one. But unless my continuity started in that one, and this one was essentially just a body now, that would be like that would be the only way for continuity to me.
It'd be a dream.
And that I'd be super down for. Like, I hope that.
Well, in your dream, have you ever run into yourself? Because it's rare, but I've run into myself in a dream. I think that's what it would be like for a second, and then you'd be like, "Get rid of this character."
I had a really weird. By really weird, I mean like I've just I'm someone who I feel so. I always remember my dreams, at least for the first like 5 minutes to an hour of waking up, and then sometimes I write them down and record them so I don't forget them ever. But like I've always had super vivid dreams, just dream a lot. It's like a part, to me, one of the richest parts of life, because you essentially, like, 8 hours of the day or whatever hours of every day, you get to experience like any reality. Like, it can be like fantastical, it can be whatever, like
Rad. Dreams are awesome.
revisit old memories, feel new things you'd never feel in real physics. like literally whatever you want. It's literally like to me, that's the most amazing thing about being alive. Like I've always, even as a kid, like really thought about how wild dreams are. Anyway, I don't want to keep rambling. I could ramble about that all day, but I've never had a dream. I've had lucid dreams. I've had all kind of dreams. It's always been super important to me. I've never had this one kind of dream I had recently. This is literally like 3 or 4 days ago. Um, I've always had this weird feeling of like, this is separate of that, but it'll make sense how it connects. Like reincarnation is one I go back and forth on because like uh what's it called? Practical wise, that's the one that like it's like to me the most clear, like I don't want to say bullshit, but like makes the least sense if you're thinking about like, oh yeah, if souls are like
What's in it for you? Yeah, it don't make
no,
sense.
like if souls are recycled, like you'd run out like right away. Like if organisms keep being made, how are all the new ones, old ones? Like the numbers, none of that makes sense. But at the same time of thinking that's the one that makes least sense of beliefs, like just spiritual beliefs. I like the practical side of my brain or logical side of my brain. That one makes the least sense and always has. But like emotionally, like weirdly, like in my soul, that's the one I've always had this weird feeling, and I get it more and more as I get older, of like whenever stuff happens, I'm just like I weirdly feel like I'm gonna have them again, like, oh, like next time around. Like it's like a weird, I don't even fear stuff because I'm like, oh, next time I'm gonna do that. Like it's like I know the logical part of me is like I know I'm not, but like something in me is like 100% certain that I am. It's a really weird. I've been thinking about this a lot this last year, just because I'm realizing how much like internally I have like a weird certainty about it, even though I don't believe it at the same time. I'm like, that's crazy. Anyway, back to the dream. This is like literally 3 or 4 nights ago. I had a new kind of lucid dream. I've lucid dreamt plenty of times where you realize where you're like conscious in it. You're like,
Yeah,
this is a
you got
dream.
control.
Or like, yeah, or you have control. Like you realize, like, I mean, I didn't realize it was a dream, but like, so I this time, like, I was young. I was about 10 years old or something. I was with my family, and I was like lucid conscious. I didn't think I was in a dream. At first, later, I mean, I figured it out once I fucking woke up. But but
That part too, by the way, when you
myself
wake up
as
and you're like, "Was that? Well, are
oh
you
yeah.
sure I'm not in that place?" That
Yeah,
kind of
no.
thing.
So I was 10 or 11 years old. Like I was back in a memory, but like I was fully in my head. I was like, oh, I reincarnated here. Like it was a really weird. It's like, oh, time is back. Like instant. Like, it's like I didn't lucid dream in the sense that I knew I was in a dream. I just fully. I was like, oh, I'm back. Like I was like, oh, I remember this memory, and it's like
Hmm.
I remember. I know I was 26 a second ago. Like I remember those memories of like the time span after this. Like now I'm restarting life from this point, and it was such an interesting feeling of like right away I was thinking about all the things I would take into account or like not do differently. Like there's things I regret or like that I wanted differently, but like I right away took it as a given. I was like,
Savor it.
oh, like I took it as a given. I was like, this must be what it feels like to reincarnate, this thing I'd been
Yeah,
expecting all along. It was like a weird like culmination of like I knew this would happen and it finally happened. Where
yeah.
like I didn't think about why it went back, like why it rewinded, but I was like, oh, it weirdly just felt so natural. I was like, this is the feeling I knew would happen the whole time. I'm back to being like 11 or whatever this age is. I have all my memories up to I was just 26 yesterday. And it was a weird, and I lived that way for like a few hours. Then I woke up a bit. I don't think I went back into it. I know I was trying to, but like it was the weirdest thing when I woke up and I was like, no, wait. It felt like there's plenty of movies where you're like shifting back and forth in time, like whether it's butterfly effect, whether it's uh it was I've never had a dream like that. Like it was a weird kind of lucid dream that like weirdly
Mhm.
touched on something I've always, I don't want to say spiritually believed because that sounds like like I think that sounds like something you want to believe. Like when I phrase it in those words, it sounds like some like the other things in that category when you use those words is like things you choose to believe. Like, oh, I choose to believe this. I don't even mean in that sense. It's like a weird thing that even when I was like 5 years old or like anytime after, I've always had this weird sense of I'm going to be back here at every age.
Have you ever heard of the Gateway Experience
I
Project?
have, yeah, that was a long tangent, but this is just a weird thing that's been going on
Well,
for
no, because
a year and then like
so a couple of things. A couple of things on I want to comment on that. Number one, uh, there's in my mind there's sort of like a plausibility scale of things, and um, I think it's plausible that your chances of life extending are much higher than you realize, and have the continuity or the fidelity, as if you want to call it that. I think it's highly possible, and I still believe that we've made the cut. At least you have, probably me. Don't know for sure. And in this theoretical sense, like we're probably within the realm of the possibility happening. I was going to say one thing back to the muscle memory thing. There's another concept which we haven't talked about, and it speaks. What is going on, man? My phone's ringing off the hook. I'm not that popular. That's why. It's just funny. Have you ever heard like when you replace a heart in someone, you get a heart from somebody else and you put it in somebody? It doesn't always take, you know.
uh-huh.
And I think they're getting better at that kind of thing, matching blood types, these kinds of things, those kinds of things,
Yeah,
right?
like any graft could technically not take. Yeah.
But it doesn't take. Just think about that for a second. Think about it on the aspect of like, what does that even mean? If your brain says, "I want to have my heart beat," it doesn't really matter what's in there; it's going to beat, right? Supposedly. So, what does this even
Well,
mean? If something don't take.
resonance, some kind of resonance.
Well, I almost think about it like this: like your relationship between your brain and your body is definitely a relationship, but not necessarily. What the heck's going on out there? This gaming cafe is like get weird out there. Uh, it's screaming. Hopefully everybody's okay. But like there's an alien inside of the skull, okay?
Mhm.
And it's attached to the spine. And that mush stuff is a super ego, like a ultra intelligent, computer made out of gush, but it ain't the same as the body. And so I guess what I'm saying is like you could just as easily attach, kind of like I love quoting movies, Men in Black, right? They open up this one guy's head and there's an alien like controlling the body.
Yeah, yeah.
In a way, like this up here is like a so much more intelligent sort of vortex of like it's like doing some wild stuff. I think that bit could easily assimilate onto another body for you, and I believe that's probably most likely way it's going to happen. The teleportation concept, or like making a replica of you and transferring you over there is probably secondary in the MythBusters scale. Let's say we're like MythBusters. Oh, we'll call it a plausibility scale. Plausibly, I think your first bet is an exact replica of your body initially, and then transferring your consciousness over to it, and then letting whatever, we're going to discover how this works. But then I think it would assimilate to it.
Yeah, because I mean,
That's
essentially,
number one.
I wouldn't even want to like. We were talking about that process of like the physics of that teleportation process. To me, the most important part is that first part of getting that to the max resolution scan of that thing, of that entity, one of our bodies in that case. Because once you have it, let's say I can get that scan of me now. Let's say that part, we can't figure out the projection part. We can't figure out that shit, how to like yet. But even if we can just get a particle level, spin level scan of our bodies right now, then like later they can just build that, plop your brain in there.
And the body will have to receive your brain.
My brain will automatically understand that body. It's like, oh, I'm back here. Like I remember this feels like,
I think you will absolutely be able to do that. Here's one thing to consider though. That. Well, we're just talking about the realm of plausibility.
Oh, yeah.
I think I can see that, and I think you would have continuity. Here's the thing, though, and your journey becomes,
yeah.
your dream comes to mind. No pun intended. But like, I think your dream is significant if you want to get all sort of mystical here. It's significant because I think your dream tells us something very, very interesting. And it could very well be, I'm not like a dream interpreter, but what I think it tells us is that it's not possible for you to go back to your 10-year-old self. Okay. If you get transferred, you're not going to be able to go back to your 10-year-old self because you saw yourself, right? You saw yourself, and that means that you're not that person, that you
I
were
didn't
that
see
person.
myself like third person. I just know the memory.
Were you okay? So
No, I
interestingly,
get the point you're making, like, because like
well, actually, it matters. Did
I
you
like
observe yourself, or were
nope.
you yourself?
No, like my surroundings were the surroundings I had when I was like 10 or 11. Like
That's a hell of a dream right there.
yeah, no, that's why I was like, this was like lucid second degree in terms of like never been that clear, never been that realistic or like present wise. Like it feels like I was
Okay.
just straight up conscious. But yeah, it wasn't like, because I know the point you're making of, and I think it's a really important point. It's like I love bringing that up to people, like when they talk about a memory and you're like, were you seeing yourself in this memory? Because then it's not a memory. Then it's like a memory that someone told you of the memory. Like if you see yourself clear, if you're not seeing it through first person view, clearly it's not
Yeah.
a memory because you're seeing yourself. It wasn't that. Like I wasn't seeing me. Like I was seeing like the room, the people, like the environment. Um,
What if we put you into a dream? There's so many. This could be number 4 on the list of plausibility. This would be like the last one, which is like we put you in. You go into a dream state, easy squeezy, right? We put you into a dream state, and we slowly, very very slowly, replace your body.
that's interesting. That's really interesting because I think even this is partly with what you just said, and partly just something you made me think of saying it that way, is that we're getting better and better at scanning, not in terms of just copying the information, but like seeing what is lighting up, like putting it vaguely. But
Your body has to receive the mind is the thing.
yeah, if you
That's
can
key here.
locate, if you maybe we can in the future, maybe it is plausible that there is a visible, like the consciousness is visible, like in the sense that like maybe in the future we'll make a scan or like we'll be able to have some kind of sensors that can see like, oh, this is where the conscious thing in that neural machine is moving around, and maybe you can lull it to a point, like get it into a deep enough state where it's just in this zone, and you can like extract it or put it into something new or replace the rest while you're just keeping it over here, isolated over here. That
Mm-hmm.
conscious thing, that whatever that is, that presence, that whether it's physical or not. Yeah.
I'm working on it. I mean,
I like that
I'm
route.
gonna
I like
get to
this.
work.
Yeah.
I want this for you. I mean, I want it for everybody, but like,
Good.
I think I can see it. I think of all the 4 things that we've said so far,
Weirdly hopeful. Yeah.
sure, I think that each one of them has some realm of plausibility.
Oh yeah.
It's just going to take time. I think the teleportation concept, the replica concept, is probably the least plausible way to do it. I think higher up, actually, I would say maybe number 2 is probably put you into a dream sleep state, a very very deep state of sleeping, maybe like going under, for an operation type of thing. Maybe further, maybe they'll invent ways to put you even further into sleep. At which point, you maintain the structure of your consciousness and your meta consciousness. You don't lose that. When you wake up from being under, you come back as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There are some interesting other things, rabbit holes about that too, which some people, especially religious people, early on didn't want to go under because they thought that they were doing something, again, ungodly or unnatural to be put under. Believe it or not, that's just about every kind of resistance that you can imagine people do it. But like TVs are bad. The little people in the box. But I do hold out some really interesting hope about putting you to sleep, a deep state of sleep, and then slowly replacing your body. And you not knowing this. The only thing is, we got to figure out how to encourage your body and your mind to fuse or to accept each other.
No, that's the route I see for like the continuity of like immortality. That's the route I see as, not to say simplest, but yeah, most plausible. Is like, because you're
Yeah.
keeping the same brain essentially, or like
I don't
most.
want to mutate us though. I think Kurzweil maybe is a little too interested in turning us into cyborgs. I don't want to be a cyborg. Like you said, come back to your original point. It's like you want to be a dad. I encourage you to pursue that.
Yeah.
But do you want to be a cyborg dad?
No, I prefer biology. Even if you can like make robotics with sensors that match ours. There's so like great example. I recently just got into like records and record players. Uh and I knew I
Cool.
would love it, but I love it way more than I thought I would. And
You got a collection coming
I
on?
never heard things through like a good vinyl system, like stereo, speaker, player. It's and I know the way that they make digital things. Like I've learned about that plenty of times in terms of like when you're making whether it's like audio or video, like you take
Yeah.
like whatever the brain can comprehend, let's say in terms of like image pixels, like whatever. Multiply that by 10. Like for digital, like it's still not exact, but you're going to make it 10 times more than what we're supposed to technically be able to perceive with our current apparatus. And then so you shouldn't be able to tell the difference. Really, it should be better digital, but it's not. Like the
Fidelity.
analog version, there's something there.
I see your analogy. I see exactly what's going
Yeah,
on
no,
here.
exactly. So like
Yeah.
there's something there that that's not captured.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we're gonna figure that out.
I remember speaking of records, when I was in Scotland, I used to go there for business. I stayed with the second time I stayed with an old Scottish preacher up in Milngavie. I don't know if you've been. Have you probably been to Scotland?
I haven't been to
No,
Scotland yet. I really want to.
not
Yeah.
far from Edinburgh. Okay, so I stayed with the Scottish preacher, 75 years old, driving a sporty Peugeot. Man, he loved it. He would get out in the stick shift and he would get out on the Scottish roads, driving, of course, on the wrong side of the road,
Mm.
just going up ramps, trying to like catch air in this car. Is 75 years old. Well, he also had he gave me so much shit, man. He made fun of me constantly, but he also had this literally the most high tech record player setup with speakers and everything. And man, he wanted me to sit down like one of those Memorex commercials and blow my hair back. He sat me down. He's like, "Ready, ready, here we go." And man, he was into his. He had the most gorgeous setup. What's yours like?
I have I'm forgetting the setup right now. One of my friends, I'm lucky one of my friends uh has been like into records for years. So he recommended the damn, I'm forgetting the company name. I think it was with a D. I won't look into it now, but it like a solid like a good record player, and then I bought like just because there was like I was gonna just get like average speakers and stereo, but then there was like a really good deal, so I was like, fuck it, this is my first big purchase.
Build it out, man. That is the coolest thing you
No,
can do.
it's the best thing ever. Like it's ridiculous hearing. I went on a way too big of a spree of buying way too many records. But like hearing, I sent you a picture of that Bach, right? That Rostropovich
Oh man, cello,
Bach.
man.
Yeah,
The
no, like
cello suite. Is it the cello suite?
hearing like vocals of like certain singers, like Billie Holiday, I fucking love.
Me
Uh,
too.
and I heard her for the first time on record. My friend was like, "Get this!" I hadn't heard Billie Holiday. Uh,
Oh man.
Love that's like one of my favorite records, but like it's ridiculous, like the way you're there. Just like I love like film photography. It's capturing something. I don't like.
I see what's going on with you. It seems like you do like the old world. I mean,
Oh,
you
I
don't want to
100%
let
do.
it
I
go.
always felt at the same time, like even when I was like 5 or 6, I always felt the same time. Like I have a super childlike side that I've always maintained, and a super like I've always felt like a 5-year-old boy and like a 100-year-old man at all
Wait a
times.
minute. When you were 10, however many years ago, right? Are you in your 30s yet?
No, I'm 26 now.
You're 26. So that was, what, like 16 years ago ish.
Yeah, when I
Um,
was 10, yeah,
but
2007.
we already had digital cameras, right? 16 years ago,
Yeah.
at least, right? It
Yeah.
was kind of like right then. I'm just curious. I'm going back to your dream. It's like, what is the significance? Because it is a very interesting when you're talking about consciousness, having a lucid dream like that.
The funny thing is, I've had plenty. There's this one recurring dream, and not like maybe let's say I have it at least once a year, and it's not the exact same. But like it's like a portion of a dream, but like I not even that I die in the dream, but it's like the I guess you die in a sense, like yeah, like I guess I would die in a dream, and then it's like you ascend upwards, not into like a heaven thing, but it's like all in space. It's all like black, and then it's like what the stars are. It's like a field of like it's more dense than the stars when you look up.
Mm.
Um, but like looking downwards, and they're all kind of just like hanging there, or like these just like glowing little entities. So it's like I'm slowly floating like from Earth to those, and I'm like back to one of those, and then I reset on Earth. So it's like it was just like and I've had that one since I was little, like some variations of that since I was little, which is like
I need you to look into. I need you to look
which
into
was
the
like a
gateway experience.
reincarnation variant of like I would die in the dream, but then I would like wake up next to all these other like lights in space, and then I would be like looking down upon like Earth and the stars, and then it would like restart. So I'd have some variance of that. Like I've had that since I was young. Maybe that plays into why I was just like, even in my conscious state, not dreaming, always weirdly felt reincarnation, something would happen. But this weird new form of dream from like 4 days ago, I've never had anything like that, where I literally believe, I believe it to my core that I was back, that I was both fully conscious of everything that just happened, like recently. By recently, I mean the time when I'm 26, the last couple of weeks, like whatever. Like I'm fully conscious of all that, and I'm back to being whatever age. I'm like, oh, I'm back here. I remember this point in the timeline. It's like a random memory. It wasn't like a significant memory. It's like when I totally forget, just like a little one that's insignificant that you forget. It wasn't like it meant more because it wasn't a pivotal moment. It just felt like I blinked. Like I've always also thought about the fact like I could blink at any moment and be like 80, like on my deathbed or something. So it was like
I'm gonna send you something.
like the inverse of that, where it felt like I just blinked, and all this stuff was made up in the mind of like an 11-year-old.
Check out this doc I just sent on iMessage. Might need to wrap up soon here.
Yeah, I know. I probably need to hop off too. But man, this has been a crazy.
This has been heck interesting. Don't judge me for what I just sent you in a PDF. It's actually a declassified document from the CIA, which is publicly available. But it describes the gateway experience. This came from the Army. It came from the Department of the Army. They were doing research, trying to walk through walls and stuff like that. Pretty interesting stuff. So they take like the very best of their participants. The very best were like doing it for like 7 years. Okay, like hardcore and taking it on. And here's what's interesting: this Army guy, practical, like soldier type, right? He's like, I'm sorry, but this shit's real. The very best of the participants were able to, in their minds, go into a room in some place 1,000 miles away and read the password and get it pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
A very like a 12-digit, I think it's 10 or 12 digits.
Yeah.
To do that mentally, it'll read the document. It's a little bit it's verbose.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
I love this training, stuff. Like so much of me doesn't believe it, but there's at least that like 1%, 5% party that's like, I wonder, and it's just so exciting. Like,
well, what I think is that you might be. I think you might have some of the qualities to be able to do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Man, I can't wait to read it.
Me, I don't. I have trouble meditating. But if check it out and tell me what you think. It's from the 80s.
I will. I can't wait. We'll talk about
stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
This has been a lot of fun.
This has been so much fun, man. I missed this. Cool.
I don't even need weed, man. I can talk about this stuff and it's fun without the weed.
Oh yeah, no, you just need the right people.
But if you need cannabis, you should use it.
But yeah,
My
I
perspective.
haven't smoked really much in years, but I'm kind of getting back into this last month.
That's the thing. Just like working from home, it's not for everybody. But you know, some people, like my daughter,
Yeah.
I saw her last time in California, and she was like, she had a joint, and she's, you don't mind if I light this? And just for a split second, as a father, I was like, wanted to grab that out of her hand and throw it in the bush and like, you stay off that shit. But I had talked with her mom about it beforehand, and I knew well that she heavily uses it. So in that flash for a moment, I was like, no, this seems to be good for her. She seems like she's calm. I was like, go ahead. I don't smoke weed, but you go right ahead. She's
Yeah.
like, okay. So she smoked a little bit in front of me. I'm like, this is weird.
Interesting
This is
moment.
weird. Wild stuff. But hey, okay, cool. This has been wonderful. I look forward to it whenever you want to do it again. It's just fun for me, log that stuff, get that fidelity.
Oh yeah, no, this is the best, man. I love it too. I love you, Cal. I'm excited.
Love you too. Love you too, Blogger. You have fun out there in Spain.
I will. Yeah, you better come here instead of Scotland next time.
I will, dude. I'll come back to Spain. Where is it close to Barcelona? Because that's the only one I've been
Pretty
to.
close. Valencia.
Okay, I want to go to Madrid. So next time I go out there, I'll probably try to hit Madrid.
Yeah. We'll hit up Madrid. Let's do it.
We'll do it together. Go find those Spanish guitar places and
Oh,
stuff.
I'm down. I'm down.
Okay.
Have a good
Have a
one.
wonderful day. Okay, bye-bye.